Imagine this. There's a rock floating in space right now, somewhere between Mars and Jupiter, that's worth more than the entire global economy. We're talking quintillions of dollars, not billions, not trillions, quintillions, with a Q, and here's the crazy part. Nobody technically owns it. But that's about to change. Because right now, as you're watching this, companies are racing to become the first trillionaires in human history by mining asteroids. Countries are rewriting international law, and the world's richest people are literally betting their fortunes on rocks in space. So who gets to own an asteroid? Can you just claim one? And what happens when we finally crack open one of these cosmic piggy banks? Today, we're diving into the wildest gold rush in history, one that's happening 200 million miles above our heads. Let's get into it. Why are we even talking about asteroids? What makes a floating space rock worth more than, well, everything? Here's the thing. Our planet. It's actually pretty poor when it comes to certain materials. Rare metals like platinum, gold, and rhodium, as well as something called rare earth elements, are incredibly scarce on Earth's surface. We need them for basically everything modern. Your phone, your laptop, electric car batteries, solar panels, all of it. But asteroids are loaded with this stuff. There's an asteroid called 16 Psyche that scientists believe is almost entirely made of iron and nickel. Its estimated value, around $10,000 quadrillion. That's a 10 with 19 zeros after it. To put that in perspective, you could somehow bring all of that material to Earth. Every single person on the planet would be a billionaire. The global economy would collapse from sheer abundance. And Psyche isn't even the richest one. There are asteroids out there packed with platinum group metals that are worth thousands of times more per pound than gold. One single 500-meter asteroid could contain more platinum than has ever been mined on Earth throughout all of human history. Think about that for a second. We've spent thousands of years digging through our planet, fighting wars over resources, and the real treasure chest has been floating above us the whole time. But here's where it gets interesting. Because before you can get rich off space rocks, someone has to answer a pretty fundamental question. Who actually owns them? And this is where things get messy. Back in 1967, during the height of the Cold War, the United States and the Soviet Union were terrified of each other, claiming the moon or other celestial bodies. So the world came together and created the Outer Space Treaty. Over 110 countries signed it, including all the major space powers. And the treaty said something pretty clear. No country can claim sovereignty over any celestial body. The moon can't own it. Mars? Nope, that asteroid worth quintillions. Also no. Space belongs to everyone, the treaty said. It's the province of all mankind. Sounds beautiful, right? Very kumbaya. There's just one massive problem. The treaty says countries can't own asteroids. But it doesn't say anything about companies or private citizens. Psyche. If the law said governments can't own fish in the ocean, but then stayed completely silent on whether regular people or corporations could fish. You see where this is going? What do you think? In 2015, the United States passed a law that sounds super boring but is actually wild. The Commercial Space Launch Competitiveness Act basically said if an American company goes to an asteroid and mines it, they get to keep whatever they bring back. This was a huge deal. Suddenly, there was a legal framework for a brand new gold rush, a space rush. Tiny Luxembourg saw this and jumped right in, passing similar laws. Then the United Arab Emirates, then Japan. All these countries agreed. You can't own the asteroid itself, but the stuff you dig out, that's all yours. It was the ultimate legal loophole, and it sparked a fire. Companies with futuristic names like Planetary Resources and Deep Space Industries popped up overnight. They raised millions from some of the biggest names on the planet. We're talking Google execs, James Cameron, Richard Branson. Their pitch was simple and seductive. Send robots to asteroids, mine them for precious metals, and bring back materials worth trillions. An entirely new economy, floating right above our heads. It sounded like we were living in the future. But then, almost all of those companies went bankrupt, or pivoted, or just vanished. So what happened? Why did the dream of an asteroid gold rush come crashing back down to Earth? Well, here's a reality check. Asteroid mining sounds incredible, but actually doing it is one of the hardest things humanity has ever tried to attempt. First, you have to find the right asteroid. They aren't all treasure chests. Some are just loose piles of rubble, while others are solid metal. You have to figure out which ones are worth visiting from millions of miles away. Then, you have to get there. We're talking about tiny targets, hurtling through space at thousands of miles per hour. The fuel costs alone are, well, astronomical. And once you arrive, you have to mine in zero gravity, with no atmosphere, and in temperatures that swing hundreds of degrees. Your robots have to do everything on their own because the radio delay from Earth can be over 20 minutes. You can't just joystick a mining machine from Houston. And after all that, you have to get the materials home. Either by moving the whole asteroid, which sounds like a sci-fi disaster movie, or by processing the ore in space and shipping it back. The technological hurdles are massive. The costs are insane. and any real payoff is decades away. So, the initial hype bubble burst. But the dream isn't dead, it's just getting a dose of reality. Why is everyone suddenly obsessed with mining asteroids? It's not just about bringing precious metals back to Earth. The real prize is what we can do with these resources in space. Think about it right now. Every single thing we send into orbit has to be launched from Earth, and that is incredibly expensive. We're talking about $10,000 for every pound. Want to send a simple bottle of water to the International Space Station? That'll be $80,000. Thank you very much. But what if you could mine that water directly from an asteroid? You could refuel spacecraft in orbit without ever launching fuel from Earth. You could create breathable oxygen for astronauts. You could even split that water into hydrogen and oxygen and make rocket fuel right there in space. This single capability changes everything. Asteroid mining isn't just about getting rich from platinum. It's about building the entire infrastructure for humanity to live and work in space permanently. It makes missions to Mars feasible. It makes moon bases and giant space stations possible. It's the foundation for a whole new economy beyond our atmosphere. The first company to crack asteroid mining doesn't just get a payday. They become the gas station, the hardware store, and the logistics company for every single space mission that comes after them. They literally build the foundation of the entire space economy. And how big is that economy? Experts are predicting it could be worth trillions of dollars, not in some distant future, but within our lifetimes. So, who's actually in this race? It's not just a few startups anymore. We're talking about serious players with serious money. NASA is launching a mission to a giant metal asteroid called Psyche, not to mine it, but to study it up close and figure out how we might one day. That mission is set to arrive in 2029. China's also a major player, having publicly stated their ambition to tap into asteroid resources. They've already brought back samples from the moon, and asteroids are their next target. Then you have private companies like Asteroid, which is developing technology to refine metals in orbit, and TransAstra working on turning asteroids into cosmic fuel depots. Even established giants like Lockheed Martin are investing in the technology needed for space mining. But here's where it gets really exciting. What if we don't even bring the materials back? What if we use the asteroids as building blocks right where they are? We could construct massive solar power stations to beam energy to Earth, build giant telescopes, or even habitats on the moon and Mars, all using local materials. No more paying for expensive launches from Earth. The race for space is on, and the winner doesn't just get a piece of the pie. They get to build the entire bakery. But we still haven't solved the ownership problem, and that's going to come to a head, and it's going to come to a head soon. Because let's say an American company lands on an asteroid and starts mining it. Then a Chinese company shows up at the same asteroid and says, "Hey, we're mining here too. Who has the rights?" The first one there, the one with the bigger operation. Both of them. There's no space police, there's no international court with jurisdiction over asteroids. The Outer Space Treaty from 1967 wasn't designed for this. It was created to stop countries from putting nukes on the moon, not to handle commercial disputes. So what happens when real money's on the line? When nations and corporations start competing for the same resources? When someone's trillion-dollar investment is threatened by a competitor? Some experts think we need a new treaty, something like the law of the sea, but for space. It would have clear rules about who can mine where, how to resolve disputes, and how to make sure the benefits of space resources are shared fairly. Other experts think that's naive. They say the first movers will simply establish their own rules, and everyone else will just have to live with it. Might makes right, even 200 million miles from Earth. And honestly, both scenarios are kind of terrifying. So here's where we are. The asteroids are real. The wealth they contain is beyond anything we can imagine. The technology to reach them is getting better every single year. And the legal framework to profit from them already exists in multiple countries. The interstellar economy isn't some distant sci-fi dream anymore. It's being built right now by companies you've probably never heard of, with funding from people betting big on humanity's future in space. And the truth is, whoever figures this out first doesn't just get rich, they reshape human civilization. They determine who controls the resources that will power the next century of space exploration. They decide whether space remains the province of all mankind or becomes the next frontier of inequality. This leads to the uncomfortable question we all need to ask. If a handful of companies and countries end up owning access to unlimited resources in space, what happens to everyone else? Does the wealth trickle down, or does the gap between the haves and have-nots become astronomical? I don't have the answer to that. Nobody does yet. But I do know this. These decisions are being made right now while most of us aren't even paying attention. So the next time you look up at the night sky, remember, that's not just empty space up there. It's the biggest treasure hunt in human history. It's the next economy. It's the future of our species, and the race to claim it has already begun. What do you think? Should space resources belong to whoever can grab them first? Or should there be rules to make sure everyone benefits? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to see more videos about the wild future we're heading toward, hit that subscribe button. Because trust me, this story is just getting started. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.